In this episode of the Unnamed Political Podcast, we'll be talking about where we left off in the last episode of the Trump administration and expanding on other topics as well.
Hello and welcome back to the Unnamed Political Podcast. I'm Clark Wahlberger.
And I'm Jack Horvath.
And as Jack stated, we are going to be continuing the episode, The Dawn of an Era. We might have a different title for this one, not sure. You can look below and check.
That's correct.
But we're going to be continuing to discuss the opening days of the administration of El Presidente Numero... Or actually, I can't say it in Spanish anymore.
Cuarenta y cinco.
Oh, come on. It's the forbidden language.
Yeah, that's the language I can speak.
I'm going to have to build a wall around it now. I don't think our VHX department
Maybe the court will turn that one down.
Speaking of Donald Trump and courts...
Courts?
Though not Mexicans in this case.
No.
Yes.
Not really.
Yes, but the travel ban that Donald Trump imposed has, unfortunately, for Donald, faced some rather strict resistance that he has so far, as of the taping of this video, been unable to surmount. We have seen him attempt to have it dealt with in court unsuccessfully, and he has now claimed that he will not be bringing it to the Supreme Court immediately.
Which is interesting because this is an issue he campaigned on. This is a very strong central issue of why people voted for him, is that they wanted to build the wall and, keep out people. But that's another separate issue. But we're talking about not the Muslim ban. We're not going to call it a Muslim ban.
Yes, it's not a Muslim ban.
We're not going to call it a Muslim ban because it is not a Muslim ban. It's a temporary moratorium on immigration from the countries that are named. But anyway, so I'm surprised that he's not going to fight for it as much as he said he was going to fight for it. I thought he'd challenge the courts directly after and say, "I see you in another court."
He did tweet that.
Exactly, but he's not acting on it, is what surprised me.
Well,
I thought he'd be right on it like he's been with all these other issues, just directing straight to the point, which is something we've seen, at least so far in his administration, which kind of surprised me, threw me off guard. So, we'll have to see what happens.
Well, we're filming this, and it was only 4 hours ago, or ish, give or take a few, when he said he won't take it immediately to the Supreme Court, so he might be trying different executives.
Oh, it would make sense.
Strategies.
No, it makes sense if he wants to take it to the Supreme Court, because once he gets Neil Gorsuch nominated,
they'll
go in favor of that ban. So that's why he wants to wait.
Even if he tried to take it to the Supreme Court now, by the time they actually ended up convening, it's likely that Neil Gorsuch would ultimately be a member of the court.
Yeah, which would then tip the scales, and they'd probably get that passed.
And so the Muslim ban is continuing to be an aspect of controversy, and I do like that you mentioned Neil Gorsuch. We should probably move to him naturally as we kind of see it, but
good transition.
To move on that, would you like to have any final closing remarks on the Muslim ban, or the temporary moratorium on immigration for 90 days?
Yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I think once Neil Gorsuch gets nominated and the justices reconvene to talk about this, I think by then that's when Trump's going to say, send this issue to the courts, we're going to rule in favor, and hopefully his ban will get reinstated. But right now he's kind of running into a roadblock, but he'll probably get over it in the future. So.
Well, and I think that this ban, I think that he will probably be able to do it, but I think it's really unfortunate because the majority of Americans, based on polling, do support the ideas of it. But one, it's kind of the fact that anything Donald Trump says, a ton of Americans, even if he says that breathing is good, a ton of Americans are going to decide that oxygen is evil and racist.
Totally.
But I think, excuse me, I'm sorry, I think, yeah. He rolled it out in a very bad way. It was shy. Yeah. It was rushed. It was
rushed. I'll give you that.
I think they've tried to go back and it's like, we couldn't have waited a week or something like that. But the problem is when you do something like that, it creates immediate opposition, and he hasn't been able to deal with that very well.
He should have done it the same way that he did it with Neil Gorsuch's nomination. Because with Neil Gorsuch's nomination, he did this whole prime time. It was a very fancy speech. It was very eloquent. Then he had him speak, so that was successful. But I think he should have done that the same way the Muslim. He should have got up and spoke to a bunch of people and said, "What? What did you say?
What did you just call it?
Moratorium on immigration."
We're going to need to censor ourselves every time.
Every time we just bleep it out.
Yeah, we're sorry, Mr. President. Please, we've been waiting for months.
Come on our show. But anyway, so if he unveils it in that sort of way that he did with the Supreme Court Justice nomination, I think that would have went well. I think that would have been effective. But he didn't do that, and he suffered consequences. So we'll have to see what happens, I suppose. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think, ultimately this is still to be seen, but it clearly has been probably the number one hot point of his administration thus far.
Yes.
And speaking of Neil Gorsuch, Trump has actually been seeing some friction with him, with Neil Gorsuch calling. So Trump has not exactly, let's say, taken kindly to the rejections he's received on his travel ban by many members of the judicial system, and has made remarks that one could describe as, according to Neil Gorsuch, as disheartening towards him, which is it's very interesting to see from the man who is hoping that he will be the next Supreme Court nominee.
Right, I mean, it's definitely interesting because most of the members of the Trump administration have fallen in line with his rhetoric and have somewhat been okay with it, although he's been called out sometimes. But it's surprising to see his own Supreme Court justice nomination, who he trusts with agreeing with him on decisions, to take this stance against him, which I thought was surprising and stands out from the rest of the people in his cabinet. So, I mean, is it allowed? Yeah, I'm sure it's fine, but I mean, we'll see what happens with that one.
I think it's unique because normally if anybody else had said something like that, we would immediately have an entire Twitter maelstrom on them.
Yeah.
But it's Neil Gorsuch, so I think Trump's in a bit of a bind. Like,
it's not a Democratic senator or Democratic governor. It's someone who's in his administration, pretty much.
All right. And moving along to that, I think you mentioned Democratic senators, and we recently saw.
I'm the segue master today.
Oh, I wish we should start preparing this. But another issue of controversy that, while not directly relating to the Donald, does indirectly connect to the topic we'll probably be covering after this. During the nomination process for Jefferson Beauregard Sessions III to be our...
Is his middle name Beauregard?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I'm mispronouncing
We're dealing with a real Civil War guy here.
Jeez. I mean, it is just... That is...
That's fine. Yeah, it's whatever.
I thought that was the Kentucky Fried Chicken mascot. I'm sorry, Jim.
Whatever.
Also, please come on the show. We need the guest.
He's probably a little busy now.
Slightly. But, yes... The current Attorney General, but at the time nominee for Attorney General, was undergoing a series of processes. I don't know what the proper term is to say in past tense, but basically during hearings to decide if you would do it, Liz Warren, the senator from Massachusetts, was forced to take her seat after reading a certain letter and which referred in part to Jeff Sessions' disgrace, and said that he used his power to, quote, shield the black vote, which then led to Mitch McConnell asking that she abide by the rules of the Senate and be forced to sit down as she was disparaging another member of the Senate. What do you think about that, Jack?
I think it's... I'm going to stray from probably your opinion here and say that I think it's somewhat justified for her to speak. I mean, given it should be relevant to bring up issues that would be concerning for the nomination of the Attorney General, someone who controlled the law of the land, so to speak. And so when she was reading that letter, Mitch McConnell stood up, I thought it was kind of a double standard, because I feel if he was reading something that was going to disparage someone in the Democratic administration 8 years ago, that he probably got off scot-free. And so I think it's just partisan politics. And so that was the reason that became a whole issue. So I think it was unjustified to call her out and make her stop speaking. I think she should have been allowed to speak, but I guess that's up to opinion. But
I do agree. I think that...
Wow, I'm lucky. All right. Don't have to argue.
Oh, no. Normally I thought you'd be all for Mitch right now. I think it was a strategic mistake that they made, because now it's blown up, this one incident. It's there's been a very edited video clip, but one that very heavily portrays Liz Warren's side. So I think it's very positive press for her, and it kind of contributes to the whole La Résistance movement that we're seeing from the Democrats, though not exactly as effective or brave as La Résistance.
No, definitely not. I wouldn't say so.
But I think I'm saying that. But I think that's like.
But I'll think.
It's been very unfortunate for Mitch McConnell. I think that also we've then seen that 4 senators were also then able to read aspects of it later. So I think inconsistent was bad. I think it was to a degree partisan politics.
For sure.
I understand his motives behind it, but I think
totally.
There are definitely times when that rule should probably be used, but this was not one of those times in my opinion. Especially because it does relate to Jeff Sessions and his appointments in the past. And let's be honest, it wasn't going to really change anything.
No.
He has been confirmed as Attorney General, so I think it was a waste of effort, and one that ultimately has clearly backfired on Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, from Mitch's point of view, I could see how you would maybe get sort of caught up in it, because whether you like it or not, insulting a fellow senator, I mean, in some cases it's okay, for sure, if it's just, playing around, but I know we don't play around much in politics anyway. But when it comes to saying that you're questioning if you're saying he's a racist, basically, by saying he's like trying to infringe upon the African right to vote, I think that would be somewhat, you could call him out for it, I guess.
Well, I think to a degree, because if you're saying, though, yes, you can say certain things may be disparaging, but you also do have to acknowledge that because they mentioned like, oh, Mitch McConnell didn't get in trouble when he called, I believe it was Chuck Schumer a liar in the past and previous years. But when you do something like that, you can say if you tell a lie, like you say one thing when the truth was the other thing, that by definition would make you a liar. If you base something off of race, that would by definition make you a racist. So I think to some degree, if you can like use the logical loops to jump through and explain like if A equals B, then B equals, or something along those lines. Then I think it is reasonable to say that. So I think it was a mistake, but ultimately did not stop Jeff Sessions from becoming Attorney General, becoming the most recent, I believe, as of the taping of this video, member of Donald Trump's cabinet. Yes, I believe so. Speaking of his cabinet, we also, that was my totally subtle transition there.
Hey, you did it. That's all that matters.
All right, sir. How are we on time?
I'd say we probably got a couple more minutes. So let's just wrap up this next issue, and we'll be good.
All right, we'll mention the rest of his cabinet, one or two more things international, whatever. But another member of his cabinet, very controversial, who also was passed. You got it. Our new education secretary, and as high school students, this hits us very near and dear to our hearts.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely been the most controversial member of the cabinet, new member of the cabinet. She won by a historic 51-50 tie.
This was the last time, first time, sorry.
That's ever had been used?
No, in 231 years, I think, that it has been used to confirm a nominee.
Yeah, so there you go. So it was that close that Mike Pence, who was technically the president of the Senate, had to break the tie, and she was nominated. Very controversial.
Or she was appointed.
And she was very controversial, and she got in. She had some. She definitely raised red flags for Democrats.
Oh, well, I think if Trump, it's kind of the same thing. If Trump touches you, you've suddenly become a racist.
Your defenses go up, so to speak.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, she was confirmed. We'll see what she does. I mean, there's definitely reasons not to like her. I mean, she really has not that much experience in the education sector. And it's definitely going to be interesting. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm going to agree with you on that. Like, I don't necessarily think that all of her ideas are horrible and evil, but I do think that Trump he did it. I think in the cabinet overall, it just hasn't been the best. There have been aspects of the cabinet, like the appointment of General Mattis. I think that was a smart move. But for the most part, it's like I'm not getting. Granted, I didn't really expect it, but I'm not getting psyched about this cabinet.
No.
Well, granted, I wasn't super psyched about the presidency. Just very psyched it wasn't a Clinton cabinet. So,
I guess so. I can see that for sure.
Yeah, I've been wondering what would Jeb do.
What would Jeb do?
What would our joyful tortoise be doing?
Jeb's cabinet would be
in the same position. Oh yeah.
I can't even imagine. Oh, that's whatever.
Yes, but so we've continued to see the cabinet unfolding, and we've begun to see Donald Trump continue to play a role in foreign affairs.
Correct.
We've seen, as we mentioned in our last episode, General Mattis did a tour of military installations in Southeast Asia. I know specifically he went to South Korea and I believe Japan.
Okay.
Japan's president is now, is it Prime Minister?
Prime Minister.
Thank you, yes, not president. Is currently in the U.S. as we're speaking, and the Prime Minister of Land Always Winter will also be visiting on Monday.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting thing to see.
Oh,
Trudeau?
Yes.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for that press conference where he's there, and they're just talking to the crowd. And there might be some. I don't think there'll be any issues with how they talk to each other and the negativity. But I think it'll be fine.
I think Trudeau's going to try to stand up and show the brave, tough man that he is inside, deep down.
I'd like to see those guys in a debate.
Anyway.
That'd be so funny. That'll get so much ratings.
I can't wait though for when we can finally have a summit between Prime Minister Mr. Wonderful and the Donald.
Reagan Mulroney.
Yes,
that's
exactly.
That's what I'm seeing.
I know. Then we get Theresa May. We got Thatcher. I mean, it's the 80s all over again.
Yeah, maybe Farage will come back. Oh my God.
Oh, come on.
Maybe not.
Are you kidding? They stand a chance, maybe?
No, absolutely not.
I know, it's very disproportionate in the UK. They received a huge number of votes, but they only have one seat in the House of Commons just because...
It's just how it goes.
How parliamentary systems work.
Change the system.
Your terribly short system. Yeah, it's horrible.
Democracy.
Just saying, embrace some of our freedom, England.
I agree.
We have more than we need.
Than we need.
We tried to get some to Iraq.
Iraq.
We gave them more than they needed, so we still got surplus.
Got all we need.
I can't do that. You can do George Bush better than that.
Yeah, I can do okay.
All right, but and following up with that, in the Middle East, we're continuing to see issues with Iran rising.
Yes, some very interesting threats going on over there.
And we've continued to see military operations have, to a degree, seem to be. We haven't heard any majorly. It's not like all of a sudden ISIS disappeared.
Interesting.
But things have been stepping up.
For the most part.
All right. Anything you have to add, Jack?
No, I think I'm good.
All right.
Hey, we got everything. We've touched all our bases.
All right. So yeah, it has been the dawn of an era. We have seen the Trump administration firmly plant itself into the pages of history. So
that's right.
This is not a fluke. This is reality.
This is reality. This is where we live. This is now.
Are you Rachel Maddow?
Straight out, Rachel Maddow.
Yeah,
Election day after.
Yes. You can consider us your friendly alternative to Keith Olbermann's La Resistance.
More or less.
No resistance, yes. All right. We'll get back to you soon enough and continue to update you on the continuing story of Donald's presidency.
That's right.
Hopefully the world won't end, but if you
it
talk
might be a
Rachel
better
Maddow,
place. We'll see.
All right. I'm Clark Walker.
I'm Jack Horvath.
See you next time.
Adios.